Hey everybody, Benton Blakeman here for the Hand History Lounge. Welcome back to Online Grind Volume 7. It has been almost a year since we recorded Volume 6. Just got in the mood the other night to play a little bit online. Thought I might as well hit the record button, see if we can turn this into something, and give a little bit of poker training. We'll just go ahead and start off and try to label these tables for you, since it is 4 of them. Probably will be tough to see on a phone, or iPad might be okay. Best if you on a computer. But top left will be table 1. Table 2 will be top right, where we have the pocket threes currently, and open a 3.5x, small blind into big blind. I don't limp many hands at all from the small blind. I tend to mostly raise or fold. A pair definitely fits the bill here. Table 3 will be bottom left. Table 4 will be bottom right. So starting off with the pocket threes up on table 2, I decided to start off with a check on ace-9-4. With 2 hearts on board and 2 threes with no heart, there's just so many hands that I'm going to bet, or that so many hands he will call my bet when I c-bet here, that I think I'm going to have much better hands than threes to do it with. So I'm going to check. If it checks through, we'll take a turn. Otherwise, just looking to check fold. Up on table 1, we defended our big blind with queen-9 of hearts. Flop checks through. On the turn, we turn a queen and go ahead and lead and take down the pot. On table 3, we got 3-bet with queen-9 of spades. We will defend a lot in position. I think queen 9's a little bit too loose to defend. Probably going to defend most of our suited broadways in pairs. We can go ahead and fold the queen 9 though. Little action right away, fast and furious over on table 3. Raise up to 3x with ace-3 of diamonds. And on table 1, we have the ace-king offsuit, which we will definitely be playing when the action gets to us. I'm going to go ahead and open. We could open smaller playing online, but I'm trying to mimic the way I play in live poker, so I'm just opening the 3x. It makes life a lot easier, too, while I'm doing these videos. With the ace-3 of diamonds, we have overcard and a backdoor flush draw. We could definitely check this flop or bet. I decide to go for a small bet. Looks like about $6 into 14. Yeah, I'm okay. I'm okay with either one here. I think I'm going to get floated a lot, but there's a lot of turn cards that I'm going to be able to bet. Queen, king, ace, a lot of diamonds. And I get raised to 24 or 4x. I think the standard play here is just to fold. I decided to call here just because the player who raised me is a regular. I notice he's on every table, so I don't want to just fold my very first c-bet to him. I decided I was going to take some backdoor equity, and I think he could just be messing around a lot. And when I call, he could be giving up, which is what happened. He checked back on a queen turn, and I don't see him raising just top pair a lot, so the jack's really good for me. So I don't need to bet too big here. I bet just slightly over half pot, and go ahead and take it down. He ends up making the fold. I think I'm recording audio several days after actually doing the video. Yeah, he folded. Look, to be honest, I don't love that hand. I think that we should probably just be folding to the flop raise. But I had a plan. I had a reason I did it. I stuck with my plan and I followed through. And I think it's a good lesson to take forward, that moving forward is, if you have a plan of action, trust yourself, stick to the plan, and go for it. We have to bluff sometimes, so just make sure we do it when we have some equity. That time we had an overcard and backdoor flush, nut flush equity. Could be worse hands to float with. We also didn't block any of we didn't block the flush draw, and we didn't block any of his straight draws, which mean that against all those hands, we actually have the best hand at that point. Over on table 3, we have the queen 9 and the small blind. I think we just completed for $1 more. Looks like an $8 pot 4 ways, which is fine. Definitely completing with those anything reasonable for $1 more from the small blind. Ace King on table 4, open a 3x. Over on table 3, we have 10-9 offsuit on the button. The hijack raises to 6, and we decide to 3-bet. I like the sizing, 3x plus 1 big blind, so we make it 20. Over on table 4, we decide to check back. I think that you can mostly bet Ace King on a 10-6 deuce because we're going to want to bet all of our overcards. I think I probably was paying more attention to the 3-bet with the 10-9 on table 3. And facing a bet on the turn with the 3 diamonds on the board and no diamond, probably better off just to go ahead and fold the Ace King. We get called over on table 3, so it's around $40 in the pot now. He checks, and I decide to make a small bet here with top pair and an open-end straight draw. My hand for 100 big blinds is fine. I also have a backdoor flush draw with a 10 of clubs. If he decides to check raise, I'm completely prepared to get it in. I think that a lot of times you could get check raised on a board like this, where they're putting on an overpair and just thinking that you're going to fold some, which is reasonable, that you probably shouldn't be betting this kind of flop. But anyway, he just ended up calling. Turn is a queen. He checks. I think now I'm just trying to get to showdown. And also I can easily bluff catch, because now my hand looks a whole lot like Ace King. So I bluff catch, and he has 6-5 of spades for 6 high, and we win a nice pot with our 10-9 there. Why did I 3-bet 10-9? It's just not quite good enough to call on the button, but it's pretty close. 10-9 offsuit. It does pretty well against a lot of a hijack's range, but not quite well enough to start calling. So I want to look for some 3-bet hands that have some different coverages other than just using, say, a suited ace for a 3-bet. So from certain times I'll choose hands like 5-6 suited, 10-9 offsuit. I won't use a hand too often like 10-9 suited as a 3-bet bluff because it has a whole lot of value to it. And with these stacks, you can't really face a 4-bet and call with hands like 10-9 suited, so I would definitely just want to be calling those hands and playing in position with these 100 big blind stacks. But hands that don't play quite as well, like the 6-5 suited or the 10-9 offsuit, I'm okay 3-betting those, and if I have to fold to a 4-bet, so be it. Over on hand number 2, on table 2, I'm folding King 10 offsuit facing a hijack raise. I think a lot of people call there, and I think you're just calling too much. I think the hand's just too weak to be calling a raise. I think it plays much better as a 3-bet or fold. I'm going to have a whole lot of 3-bets. If I'm 3-betting 10-9 offsuit, I probably don't need to 3-bet King 10 offsuit because it will make my 3-betting range way too wide. So I'd like to fold that on table 2. On table 1, pocket jacks. Small blind raises to 5, 2.5x. I make it 17, 3 times the raise, plus 1 big blind, and get, as my friend Andrew would say, a pretty favorable flop, Jack 8-8. He checks to me, and we have about $40 in the pot, just shy of 40, 35 or so. I bet $9. I down bet very small here because I don't see him folding too much, but there's no reason to just give free cards. Plus, $9 allows him to do something silly like check raise. This time he didn't, but that's okay. On the turn, he calls on the turn. I bet 34 into 49. When the turn's a 10, I think there's a lot of hands that pick up equity for him, even though he's drawing dead, pretty much. There's a lot of hands he's going to continue calling. He is going to call flop with ace 10, queen 10, king 10, 10-9, pocket 9s. He could have pocket 10s, and if so, I want to just get the money in. So I like to go a little bit larger, trying to set up to get stacks in on the river, but he decides to fold, which is fine. That happens. At least we got the $9 bet in on the flop, which a lot of people, I think, just check back, and they end up not getting any bets in. So while there's a little break in the action, I'll just mention, if you haven't checked it out before, go to www.handhistorylounge.com. Handhistorylounge.com. It is a subscription-based training site, group training, unlike what we're doing here, which is most training sites do these videos. The Hand History Lounge is just a place where you can come in. It's priced at $40 a month, so it's very cheap. If you're playing any kind of poker, 1-2 no limit, you're talking about a pre-flop raise and a c-bet. It's very, very cheap, and we have a great group of people there. But you come in and you post your own hands and get feedback from 3 professionals, myself, Andrew Nemi, and we now have a third coach named Rodham Chin, who is a 2-5 and 5-10 regular in Las Vegas. I promise you it'll be the best $40 a month you can spend. It's a great complement to any other studying you're doing. There's nobody out there who's really giving you feedback on your own hands, and that's what we do. It's a great community with advice that you can trust. You don't have to worry about what these guys play. I'm a proven winning player. Andrew is, as well as Rodham. Over on table 1, we have 2 kings, and we raised to $6. The small blind makes it 24. 100 big blinds deep. I'm just going to be 4-betting here. I'm going to use a small size. I'm going to assume I go to something around 50, 55 to 58. I do. I use a 58 sizing. I think about 2.5x when 4-betting in position is perfectly fine. You can size a little bit larger the deeper that you get, but 100 blinds or so, we want to use that smaller sizing. He ends up folding, which no big deal. We pick up 12 big blinds without seeing a flop. Open an ace-8 of hearts under the gun to 3x. Big blind defends. We get ace-8-7 flop with 2 spades and a 7 of hearts. That's about as good as it gets here. I remember toying between 2 sizes. I thought about going big on this flop because I think that his calling range is going to be indifferent to my size. If he has straight draws or flush draws, he's always calling or check raising. If he has an ace, he's never folding. I ultimately sized normally because I couldn't find many bluffs that I was going to go with that size on the flop. Plus, I think a $6 bet, he may decide to try to protect an ace, and he may just check raise an ace, in which case I can start getting more money in and just re-raise right there. Play my hand fast. That way it merges my range into everything, all my value hands and all my semi-bluffs, and it puts him in a tough spot with an ace. Unfortunately, he folded, and that's it, and we move on. Over on table 4, we raise the cutoff with 5-6 of clubs to 3x, $6. The small blind min clicks it back and makes it 10. Now online this is weird because is it a monster or was it a misclick? And we don't know. But on the flop, Jack 3 deuce all hearts. He checks. We decide to check. We have some equity. We don't need a bluff now. We can always turn our hand to a bluff later, which is what happens. I go ahead and bet about 9 on the turn. I would do this with a lot of hands. When he checks twice, I'm going to bet pretty much all my pairs here. And I'm definitely going to have a bunch of 9s in my range because there's no hand I'm ever opening to 6 and then folding for $4 more. On the river, the Jack pairs, and he tanks down forever almost like he's going to bet. To me, this is a classic live poker tell where they're trying to act strong, like they think a long time and then they check, or while you're thinking they're grabbing their chips, or they grab their chips to bet and then they decide to check. That means they don't want to face it, so I go ahead and bet here. I don't even remember what size I use, but I don't think it needs to be big. I think 60% pot's fine. I use less than that. I use 50% pot. I bet 16 into 32, and he immediately folds. So definitely a win, taking it down with 6 high, no pair. Raise 6s on the bottom right, and win the pot. Looks like we had pocket 8s on the top left a hand ago. Didn't really see much happening. I think we had an all over card flop and we just folded. Raise the 7-8 of hearts under the gun on table 2. Open a 3x. There's our standard. And everybody folds. So yeah, getting back to the Hand History Lounge. If you haven't checked it out before, I think it's a great accompaniment to your studies or your main studies. Or I've always felt that was the best way for me to learn, was running hands by friends. But not everybody is blessed to have a circle of friends like I had, who are all higher limit players who were very good and whose opinions I could really trust. I wouldn't be where I'm at today without them. Not everyone has that, and that's what myself and Andrew are here to offer you guys. We have about 60 members right now. The site's growing. It's growing slowly. But we've had about 600 requests of people to join, and people just haven't paid the $40 to get started. And it boggles my mind, because if you enjoy poker and you want to win, just be willing to invest a little bit in yourself. If you don't like it, quit after 1 month. It's $40. It's nothing compared to the games that you're playing. Over on table 2, raise up the jacks to 3x and the big blind folds. So yeah, again, it's just nothing compared to the games you're playing, and invest in yourself and get better. Just hop in. I can promise you, I have very few people who leave once they join the lounge. They love it. We've still got people who've been there for almost 2 years now. Jacks again on table 2, and we win the blinds again. But yeah, check it out. I think you'll be very happy, and you'll see that it fills a gap in the market that other training sites aren't doing. I'm not here to compete with the big training sites. I was a member at almost all the big training sites, but I'm just here to tell you, if you're lacking that group of people to really run hands by, give us a shot. On table 2, under the gun opens to 575. We have 4-5 suited and decide to 3-bet to 20. Again, 3x plus 1 big blind. I rounded up his open to 6. So 3x plus 1 big blind. Why am I using 4-5 suited? This hand is too weak to call versus his positional raise. But I want to have some lower hands in my range, especially my 3-betting range, to give me lower board coverage. So since 4-5 suited is too weak to call, but it still has some decent playability once called, it makes for a good candidate to 3-bet. We went ahead and 3-bet, he folded, and we win the pot. Over on table 3, jacks again seems to be a common occurrence this session. Open at 3x from under the gun, and under the gun plus 1 calls. While waiting up on table 1, on table 2, we saw a free flop with the 6-3 of hearts, and I make a small stab on the flop with the 6-high flush draw. I think if they don't have a big heart or an ace, they're just always folding. Nobody's just going to peel a random second pair here. I actually turn the flush and check and face a pretty large bet and just give it up. Back to table 3 with the jacks. Ace King 4, no need to bet the jacks. They still have some value. And checks through, turn checks through on the river. We're going to go ahead and go for some value. 14 in the pot. I size pretty large, if I remember right. Yeah, I size 11, because I think that people don't expect me to size 11 with 10s, jacks, or queens. So he never has an ace or a king, so he's mostly going to just be hero calling me, because they don't expect it with a hand like I had. And I think I go back and check his hand, and I believe he called with a pocket pair, remember, 6s. Yep. So ace king 4, check check, turn 3, check check, river ace, and I led for almost full pot and get called by 6s. Up to table 2, we have pocket 9s on the button facing a cutoff raise. Definitely could be a candidate for a 3-bet. I like flatting with these stacks, because if somebody else 3-bets, I can call. Whereas if I 3-bet and get 4-bet, I'm put in a really, really tough spot with 9s that I'd prefer not to be in. And I think it'll play fine in position. As played, I went ahead and bet about 8 into 14 and just win the pot. Ace King on table 1. I 3-bet from 6 to 18. My normal is to 3x plus a big blind, so it should be 6 to 20. But I remember I sized smaller because the cutoff only had about 80 big blinds. I am 100% willing to get it in with Ace King there versus an 80 big blind stack. And partly sized smaller to see if maybe he would just 4-bet and spew, and if he did, I would be 5-bet jamming. As played, he ended up folding, which is fine. King Queen over on table 1. raised under the gun, so we're going to represent a pretty strong range here. I would expect me to c-bet, even though I don't have a spade. I think a c-bet of, yeah, third pot would be fine. And turns a 9. I don't think I'm going to go for 3 streets here because I didn't catch a 10 or a jack, so I should be checking. I'm sorry, the turn's a 7. I should be checking back the turn. This is a bad bet. I should not be making this bet. I think that I was just still thinking that I had a strong range, but I should definitely just be giving up turn. And when I do give up turn, if I check turn and the river comes an ace, I could actually bluff the ace if I so desire to, if he checks it. But after I bet flop and turn, I'm repping way too narrow of a range to bet the ace, not blocking spades. So anyway, that was bad. That was pretty bad on the turn. I should not be betting there, but live and learn. With the jacks on table 1, I think it's a good spot to squeeze, even though it's versus an under the gun raise. Once what's probably a pretty bad player in the small blind calls, I like a squeeze, and I like normally close to a 5x sizing on the squeeze, which it looks like I pretty much did here. I went from 650 to 32. And he pretty much min clicks it back to 62. This is a really tough spot for me. I remember thinking about it. I decided to just go ahead and call. Could definitely go both ways, but I decided to call because I figured I'd just flop top set, and it's pretty easy to play top set. When you check, they bet 40 and have 170 left, and the pot's almost 200. We're just going to merge all of our hands together here. We're going to jam our big draws. We're going to jam our sets. We can jam pair plus draws with these stacks, so it plays pretty easy. I'm fully expecting him to call, and I am ready to double up. But then he folded. But that's okay. So yeah, those hands are tough. Like you can definitely make a case for getting in 100 blinds there. The fact that he was an under the gun raiser, I actually wasn't loving the idea of getting in 100 blinds, but I did love the fact that he went from 32 to 62 and made my life extremely easy to only call 30 more. Definitely giving me the price to set mine with jacks. But, had I known more about this player, which this is my first session in a year, maybe I would have played the hand differently. But all I know is the little bit I've known for playing with the guy for 20 minutes. So anyway, I thought that was a pretty neat hand. That's probably a pretty good one to end on. Thank you guys for watching. Please leave any comments. Let me know what you think. Join us, www.handhistorylounge.com.